The remarks that I heard so persistently was that all I want is just enough to get by. And then the one that my generation used was, how's it going, man? I'm making it. I'm making it. I'm making it. Making what? The standstill syndrome of hold on has been the banner of Black America since we were imprisoned in this country and culture. Survival was of the utmost importance. Just to live through was the theme of survival for the captured African. It became a fixed mechanism in the pseudo-culture that the African was developing in this, quote, foreign land, unquote. How to survive, the need to survive, the whole syndrome of survival is a slave mentality syndrome. Prosperity is the correct concept for the African, where most of the wealth of the planet has been drawn from. Most of the gold, most of the silver, most of the diamonds, rubies, emeralds, pearls, Africa, that says the land from which we adhere is a rich land, okay. A land flowing with milk and honey, that God's so-called chosen were sent to that land as a promised land. In W.E.B. Boble's book, The Golden Trade of the Moors, there's a recording of the tribe called the Mbutu, the lip disc culture in West Africa. The ones who took a small flat rock and placed in their mouths to stretch their lips as they grew, because big lips had prestige in that cultural community. It literally stems from the vision of Mother Zedekias, who appears with an enormous, gigantic pair of perfect lips. They had so much gold, the legend was, before the European got into that territory that they could scoop it up off the top of the water with leaves. But they had nothing to do with it, except to make things. Then the clever Arab found out a route into the territory where the Mbutu dwelled. And that's who took the European, thereby becoming from clockmakers to cartographers, the map makers. The European Jew, that's the European Jew's map we're still using, who found a route into that part of West Africa, around the Mediterranean Sea, where the enormous spray of hot springs created a curtain of mist that you could not see through. The European was phobic about this area. They believed that if you went through this curtain, you would fall off the edge of the earth. So they were afraid to go. It was Leo Africanus who acted as the navigator, who understood the implements of ship navigating that took so-called Prince Henry the Navigator and his European donkeys into that territory to trade the Ubuntu gold for salt. The rocks cut their lips. And what they discovered is salt quickly healed those inner wounds. So they began trading large baskets and bags of salt for gold. The European would bring these big bags of salt and set them down, then back up, because they would not allow anyone to invade their privacy. They would wait, sometimes hours. They would come out, take the salt back, weigh it, and fill an equal amount of gold for salt. Another picture, look at the so-called Egyptian, the African of Kemet, and his and her culture, laced with gold, laced with silver and precious stones. The point I'm making is that you're from a rich culture, a rich past. It's back here, the idea to be rich, to be prosperous, to be well-to-do. Okay? The illusion of poverty is just that. It is an illusion. In this cycle we are in of high dispensation, that includes wealth. You're supposed to get back something. Spiritual prosperity includes material prosperity. It includes mental prosperity. It doesn't exclude anything. The masters who presented themselves to a given people renounced materiality because they were demonstrating spirituality. They didn't need to harness and stack up anything. They could have anything they wanted when they wanted it. Okay. I'll give you a story of one master who so aptly displayed that. I won't give his name because I don't want to deal with who he is right now. Took a group of his devotees down to the ocean and stood by the foot of the ocean and said to the ocean, "Well, here I am. You've called me down here. What do you want?" This was recently, in the last 20 years. And the ocean came up and washed his feet and then went back. And it came back up and washed his feet again. And then at his very big toe was this ancient necklace of large diamonds, worth the exact amount it took to build the Hindu temple that his devotees wanted to build. So he didn't need to carry anything around. He's in charge of everything down here. That's real prosperity consciousness. To have what you need and want when you need it and when you want it. It is not having a large bank account, because the bank owner might go off with your money. In your consciousness, that's where prosperity is. The reason I'm mentioning this is because many of you have a phobia about the idea of gambling. Well, so do I. This is not gambling. This is putting your silver tray out there so the Creator can put something on it. That's all it is. That's what I want you to view this as. Now, don't try to get to be a good gambler. All you want to do is to win. The only concept to keep in mind is to win. Okay. This is the number that fell Thursday, I think. And this one, and the one I'm looking at coming behind it came Friday. Okay. This is the way you set the number up for the tic-tac-toe part of the workout. If you all did not get the first part of it, you can rent the tape. It's on there. I'm not going to go through it again. That's how it's set up. Okay. You look at the numbers that are missing, and it's very interesting. Then you couple them. 26, 27, 28 is a very easy one this time because you only had 1, 2, 3 couplets to work with. The number that fell behind this number is 427. If you took each couplet and went through these columns, you would have found 427 right up here by moving one number down, the 4. See it up there? Okay. See it? See it? Okay. It's not magic, it's math. See it up there? It came 427. I think this way it was 724. There's something else I meant to mention. When you find a number, and I'll tell you what I mean by find, because sometimes you calculate and then other times you find a number. Let's say it came that way, and if you have the money, you play the number this way and that, forward and backwards. Okay? Straight. In other words, if you'd had $5 straight on that, Michael, how much money would you have had? 5 times 400 in Georgia right now, or New York numbers. 5 times 400. Okay, now, let's look at the columns. 427 is what? What column is it in? Somebody quick. I know y'all been studying this. It's columns, I know now.
4.
No. That one brother there can't even count.
Third column, column 3.
Huh?
Third column.
Thank you. Where do you see the 3 in a column up there? All right. This is the column you first look in, or the column to consider playing. However, you take the next number and make it the number above, which would be this number, whatever it is, becomes the number above. It often plays. This is about finding the column with the chart. In other words, if I had chosen the 3 as the top number, all I've done was play these numbers. It doesn't matter what the number was, I would have won by simply playing 12 numbers. Okay? Y'all see it in there? Some of y'all looking as if you're perplexed by that. That didn't bother anybody. One way you use the system. It is not always in this column. Sometimes it is in this column. Okay. You still search the column with your lead number. The number that came back from 345 was what? Right. If you had looked at done the workout and looked at the columns, you would have discovered something interesting. There were 8 3s in this collection of numbers and 8 4s. Very high collection, which should have drawn your attention. Okay. That's one way you find your lead number and the column. I got a few little anecdotes here rolling around my head. They'll come back to me in a minute about what to do with that. There's also the art of betting in terms of amount of money and how you bet your number. My suggestion is don't go beyond 10 choices. It keeps your betting amount at a minimum in terms of return. So keep it at 10 and working to reduce it to 5 as you become more proficient at certain points. You want one number hemmed up in a corner with a pocket full of money to put on it. By that I'm talking $20, $30 on one number. Then you go to the window with your shopping bag on that day. This money is tax-free. If you play your number single ticket at a time, it should be set up the same way. Everything under $501 is tax-free. So if you got 40 tickets of $500 each, all that money is tax-free money. I'm saying I can't get none of that. he gets you when you hit it 4 digits straight. For $10 straight on a 4-digit number will bring you $50,000. But he wants 35% of that. You have to give it to him because you have to take that ticket to the bank to get the money. The individual machines don't cash anything over $500. At this point, use this workout. Keep expanding your prosperity consciousness. If you can't do it with an idea, do it with things. New house, new car, new shoes, sisters. Buy yourself a diamond ring, sister. Improve your consciousness. Okay. When you hear the crawling thing in the back of your head of, I can't afford that, I ain't got no, go back and get that little fella out your head because he will ruin you. Okay? He will make you keep your $2 in your purse when the Spirit is giving you the number so you can get 2,000. Okay? It's going to happen. It ain't no great prophecy. I'm talking about experience. I was downtown one day, and I mean, it was interesting. I'm sitting there with one of these little leaflets, smaller than that, and I had it holding my hand like this. And there was a pyramidal symbol on it, and the number 604 was in the pyramid. And I'm standing there talking to this one dude, the Spirit is going like this with my thumb. Back and forth, like that. So I took it out of my hand because I thought maybe my finger was nervous. And I sat there and I drank my coffee, read my book, smoked a cigarette, and the Spirit kept doing my finger like this. That's like this. That's a Masonic symbol for I'm from the East, the widow's son. First time I saw a white boy standing there talking to another white boy like this in a bar. And the Spirit turned my head like this. And just made me stare at it, finally showed me the pyramid. I had $1. The bus fare in Ohio at that time was 85 cents. I had a choice. Play this number. If I miss, walk home. Or either play this number, catch the bus, and go home broke, and have to come back broke. That's the choice I had. So I waited about 6:35 and I sit there. The arcade was closing, folks leaving, and nobody came back. I knew, to lend me this, let me borrow this. Nobody. I know 85% of Cleveland. I didn't see nobody that day. I knew. So I sit there and I said, that ain't such a far walk. It's about 5 miles. So I went on in there, $1 box, and $1 brought me 83.50. Ate good that night. Got me a 40 ounce or two. And there are times when your Spirit will just give it to you. The question and quest is, do you believe your own God? That's the challenge. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'll say when I see it, told you so. Okay? Keep that in mind. Okay. Let's put that aside unless anybody's got any questions about this part of the workout. Anybody? Okay, nobody. Okay, good. Where's my razor? Behind the computer. Thank you. What did you miss, Gloria? Thank you, Gloria. Okay, we're going to deal with 2 centers at once because we're going to make this the last one of the 12 of the series as we move to another level. We're going to work with the regenerative center and also the crown center, or part of it, as the mind of God or the mind of Christ. The first thing we're going to deal with is the symbology of that mind. I tried to find the other chart that I have these circles. dust if they saw me with this dirty fez on. Okay, worry about that. There's your Easter egg. The Egyptian cranium, so-called, which is the African cranium, which is the creator's head. And probably the ones referred to as Ethiopians reflect that egg-shaped head in the territory of Africa more than any other particular group. But many of your children have the egg-shaped head diminished. It is a very remarkable cranium, and this little hickey back here is a great secret. We'll deal with that in the other. Right now, we're just going to talk about the crown. This is called Kez in the ancient language. In the so-called Arabic, it is called Fez. They both mean crown. In the Latin, it is Cronus. Corona, in the Latin, crown. The crown represents the authority of the spirit. So does the concept for crown in ancient Latin and Chinese. They didn't even have a word for king. They borrowed it from the Oriental language. K-I-N-G is a Chinese word, which means crown, which means authority. There is no authority without knowledge and power. So it represents knowledge and power. These are 4 quarters. Why you have 4 quarters in your pocket? I don't think I got 4 quarters. Anyway, and why the head is on the quarter in Masonic symbology. It represents the head of 1. 4 quarters equals, all right. 1 equals God. Ahad, had, 1 means God. Something just slipped right out of my thing there. Okay, if you can see these, there's no light behind me there. You see those perforations in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are your 4 quarters, about the same size of a quarter. Those are the 4 chakras on top of your brain, your 4 spiritual centers, called chakras, or wheels of power, or turning wheel, a wheel of force, the chakra. This little nib here is Seshuna. We won't deal with Seshuna, but you may as well know what it is anyway. We will deal with it.
Somebody got the lady locked in.
Is this word in blue car?
Yeah.
Seshuna. Right, just write that word down. Seshuna.
And what is that?
Seshuna.
22 inches. On the head. Is it on the glass or?
No, it is depicted up here, but that's not it. It looks more like this, but it hasn't arrived yet. It comes later. Okay. Grass. Krishna. course, Buddha belongs in there too, and so does Muhammad.
Yeah.
The concept of Muhammad is the front of the face in Arabic characters. Got that? That's a hieroglyphic, not a very good one, for Amen, the hidden one, or the hidden God. You'll find in Revelations 3:14. Amen is also a mantra, a chant. Christians just use it in its English form, musicalize it. Very powerful. It's more a devotional concept, but you can still hear the Om inside of Amen. Isaiah 45:15 is where you find the definition of Amen.
Repeat that, please.
Isaiah 45, verse 45:15. Approximately 7 inches in height. Fez. In the vignette with Amen Abi, he wears the fez inside his crown turned upside down. The one with the Popeyes, the fat on with the Popeyes, you've seen that particular vignette? There's a black ball and a string. 360 strings are on the fez. The ball represents the black dot, the beginning of all things, matter, mama, mater, mother. The strings represent the degrees of perfection. The ancient Moor, the modern Moor. At the very apex of the brain inside is a ganglionic center. Now, this is one of the 12 faculties interconnecting all of the other faculties. There are 5 in the head, as you've noticed, and 7 in the body. You'll find that also in Revelations. We'll deal with that when we get to the 12 signs of the zodiac. In awakening the supraconscious mind, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the cosmic. We're still talking about your body, your body's faculties, your astral body and your astral body's faculties. And we're talking about the body of light that comes out as the 7 rays of light we talked about in terms of the symbol of 7 in divine or sacred geometry. I'll do that in a minute. But this is what we're talking about, the superconscious level of mind, the intuitive faculty of super consciousness, that you can think from a superior level of intellect. The beginning of all philosophy begins with intuition, not fact. The highest level of knowing is superconscious level of knowing for the human being. We're still talking about the God-man and the God-woman. We're not talking about the cosmic consciousness. Though Fillmore was under the impression that Christ's mind is cosmic, it is not. Let's look at this. It's given in the concept that Christians use, and probably later on. The Son of God. Solar. We're talking about solar gods. Our ancestors are solar gods. They're in charge of this solar system. Amen. Ra. Ra is the sun. In its exterior depiction, of course, it is high energy, high spirit, divine light in its spiritual depiction. Okay? I'm talking about our immediate parents, not the Ancient of Days. Okay, you'll find this concept, sun God, in Malachi 2:4. The Son of Righteousness, S-U-N, it says in Malachi 2:4, not S-O-N. So the woman is also the Son of God. Okay. You can't get to the cosmos unless you are the Son of God. There is no hurtling over S-O-N and S-U-N. Okay. That's why Jesus said you have to go through him, meaning the idea of the Christ one. Asaras, the indestructible. I need to re-articulate that. We're not talking about just getting anointed. We're talking about indestructible. The finest depiction of the Son of God we have extended to the human race was Horus. Heru, risen one. Twice risen, actually, with Heru. That is Jesus. For you Christians who think he's a Jew, well, we'll deal with it. There aren't any Jews, except those that want to call themselves the coin word. It's easy to see if you look at the rest of it. What they're talking about. That's why they're Rubinstein, Diamond, Goldberg, Silverberg. They take all of the names of the precious metals. You see that? They're talking about an occult science, Judaism. And most of them are from the synagogue of Satan. No, quite literally. That's a report that Jesus gives in Revelation. There is a synagogue of Satan. Those who say that they are Jews and are not.
That's right.
They're not. They're not worshiping anybody. They're down here running every damn thing.
Come on.
No, I don't want to get too much into that. The important thing is to keep your mind on you. You know, okay? That's how you get above the enemy. The more you lend him your attention, the stronger he gets. Quit doing that. You know, we're moving to this intellectual stage where we know all of the problems. Well, that is not so wonderful. We need all of the answers. Damn the problem. We've been dealing with that enough. I think it was Alley Pat. Let me divert for a minute here, because it should have made me a man again. Alley Pat. Is he on the radio too?
Yeah.
Alley Pat. Yeah. Playing the blues. And it just, there's a record out that says, that white boy sure enough can sing the blues. He can sing the blues. And Alley Pat did his dumb Negro bit. Yeah, they can sing the blues. The white boy can sing the blues better than black folks now. Black folks don't even sing the blues. We don't need the blues no more. Let him have the blues. We sure enough need a new song. Let him sing the blues. All that melancholy of feeling sorry for ourselves, how we've been, you know, we don't need to do that. You know, we're talking about perfect. That's what that is our theme. Be ye perfect while you're in that body here now. You know, ain't nobody up in heaven sick. Ain't nobody up in heaven poor. Ain't nobody. We need power down here to solve those problems of poverty, of sickness, of death. There is no incurable disease unless you think it's so. And that's what fastens you to everything down here. Your thinking. As a man thinketh in his heart, where you have 12 hearts. Heart means center. So is he. If you think positive, good, wonderful, marvelous, and perfect, so shall you become. Understand your power. That you already have power and you've been using it. If your conditions are unfruitful, you've been using your power the wrong way. Repent. Turn around. Turn your mental thing around and use it positively. Okay. This gland, pineal or pineal, and the pituitary, when they hook up, when they get married, that's the pineal gland. The same word for penis is the same word for pineal or pineal. It looks like a penis. In the woman, it is her clitoris. The one when you're not walking upright is the one you're hooked up with down here. For the one walking upright, he's hooked up here. This is the pituitary gland. This extends into this one, as the penis extends into the womb, to create a new mind, the mind of God. And the Spirit electrifies you and illumines it. Then you can say, Ana el Haq, Ana el Sham, I am the way, I am the light. Because it'll be true at that point.
What is the pituitary gland?
It's really the general of the physical body. It's the physical implement, which is almost mid-center of the brain. It isn't in the third eye. This is where we use as a point of contact when you read in the Yoga Sutras or yogic knowledge between the eyebrows. You're really focusing at a point midway between the back of the head and the front of the head. It kind of gives direction to all of the rest of the glands. It really is the father gland. Okay, I don't want to get too much. What's your name? Catherine Ponder talks about it in there, and so does Fillmore. The 12 Powers of Man is another book you all should have, because it has information in it that the healing secrets of the ages do not have. It is the format for this concept of metaphysics, Charles Fillmore's concept. But he was such a religionist that he kept harping on the problem of sexuality, lust. You know, that was his big thing from the school where the real problem with man was his sexuality, which is a big problem. It is. It really is. Because you can't use the glands to do both things. You can't use it to do the jump factor and the raise factor at the same time, because you want the energy to go this way. When you jump, the energy is going this way. It's going south. Okay, let's look at this. I'm glad I mentioned that word south. It brought to mind these concepts here. That's supposed to be a head. Thorn. We're supposed to put north up here. Okay. Asti, another name for Isis. The four gates. North, the thorn. Crown of thorns. East within, Asti, the queen. The soul is queen, yes.
Is east and west on the correct side?
No.
May not be. If it were facing this way, it would be. Facing this way, it would not be. Let's look at it. The guy facing that way. Just know that. The west is the back of the body, the outside. The sun sets down in the west. Set, the back. South out, the energy, the vital Libra flows out of the south gate, okay. Going down. You try to get it up north, all of your energy. If I be lifted up, the Son of Man must be lifted up, even as the serpent in the desert was lifted up. Probably the greatest challenge the African will have is the challenge of the period of celibacy, to restrain from sexuality. But you'll be amazed at the strength and the power you shall have in that period when it comes. As academic as it sounds, sex is not the greatest pleasure down here. But it certainly is one of the ruling factors behind money, is sex. Because it's so close to the power center, the sacral and coccygeal vertebrae. Okay. The regeneration, the regenerative faculty in the body. Here, in here, at approximately the tail end of the tailbone of the vertebrae as it curves in, which includes the scrotum and the vagina area. The power or the energy, of course, comes out of the sacral vertebrae, the sacred. That's what the word sacral means, or secret. Another word, right? What is being secreted is the secret. When the energies start moving up, the velocity of your energy begins to change. The fire spark begins to happen. And you gain more energy from the sacral vertebrae. At that point, the Kundalini does not necessarily come out, but the Queen of the South rises up to destroy that generation. Meaning here, this comes out. course, it's already out. I mean, we literally live in a fire body. Our energy is literally electrical fire. It's what you live with. It's what you make rupee with. And when it's not so good, ain't no fire there. Why I laid out the code of rotation, because if you keep doing that, you'll spoil your relationship with your companion. If you go on a long spree of 7 days non-stop sexuality, your body doesn't have an opportunity to replenish the spermatosa and the ovum that makes the vital vibra. It helps to draw out the fire so that you have power. Okay? You become drained. You use up all of your vitality, your energy, and you end up jumping on empty. And it irritates the nervous system, particularly the vertebrae. And when that's irritated, everything around you will become irritable. So keep in mind the idea of revitalizing. It takes 24 hours for the body to make another ample supply of spermatosa and ovum. It takes 72 hours for it to distribute it throughout the body. It's got to travel all the way from the south to the north to revitalize the brain. The brain uses spermatosa and ovum and sugar to make brain matter and to revitalize itself. And of course, it uses fire. Okay. A finer fire than the one in the stove, but fire nevertheless that will burn you up. Okay. The statement, "O Lord, the zeal of thine house has eaten me up," is an indication of how powerful the fire of zeal, which is referred to as in the scripture as the fire of righteousness, does not mean right thinking. It means a thinking fire, a fire that knows what it's doing in the body and goes to the places where it's supposed to go to cleanse the body, the chafe in the body. You need that fire to regenerate. That's how you kill off the enemy in the body. Dis-ease with that fire. You need it moving throughout all parts of the body so that you become indestructible. The regenerative process. Then the velocity of that fire, of that electricity changes. And from a red vibration, it goes through the color spectrum till it becomes light. And from light, it gets to be atomic light. From atomic light, hydrogen light. And from on up to your literally walking power. The concept of God is all power. That there is no weakness in him. None at all. And that is what we are supposed to be doing down here. And in the cycle, you're bringing divine beings down here. They're coming to help. And they're getting crushed. They usually come in the most pitiful of conditions. That's love. The Bona Vista, the everlasting mercy of God, sends great souls in the worst of conditions. The one picture that explained that to me on the cover of a book of a jet black so-called Hindu woman standing in the midst of a group of the so-called untouchables, the wretched of India, holding a baby. She brought the technique of baby massage for babies that were dying. She showed their mothers how they could massage them back to life. And the woman's image was so powerful, you could feel it almost halfway across the room. And there was nothing else you could say, but that was God on that paper. I mean, you know, she had on raggedy clothes, but wasn't nothing raggedy about her. It was G-O-D was standing there. Okay. That's your nature. Draw that out now, so you don't have to come back here and do it again. Okay? Because you got to do it according to the laws of evolution. That's where you're headed. While I was dealing with the brother, get a chair. Here's one here, and there's another chair around. One day I let your little brother sit, let your son sit on the floor there, cross-legged. He's able to do that. I wanted to, when we got to G-O-D, I wanted to do this. When we talk about the Fez, because the Masonic order is talking about this. Democracy. Governor of democracy is what they mean, G-O-D, on their dollar bill. On the exoteric, outside. They also mean G-O-D on the inside, generator, operator, destroyer. Okay. The powers of the mind of Christ. There's no death, no hunger, no fear, no poverty, no sickness, no ignorance in that mind. There's no imperfection in that mind. That's how the mind of Christ or the mind of God is able to heal anyone or any dis-ease. Dis-ease and distortion are synonyms. And that's all a disease, a sickness is a distortion of that which is already perfect. The problem is, the human eyes, the naked eye, does not see the perfect being. The mind of Christ does. And whatever that mind sees is, no matter what it looks like on the outside. We are made from the inside out. That's how you heal. Inside. Bringing the image of the person inside your consciousness and seeing that person complete, whole. Seeing the crippled person standing up walking. Seeing the one with arthritis or tuberculosis without arthritis, tuberculosis, or whatever dis-ease it might be. You don't need to know the name of the disease. You only need to know the name of the person to see them in perfect health. When you're hooked up with all 12 of your disciples, okay, the 5 in the head and the 7 in the body, that is the mind of Christ. It's not in the head. It's throughout the entire body, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. I think I mentioned this once before. That look like that. It looks much like a foot. My heart is getting horrible. This is where you're illumined from, not from the head, from the feet. The feet represent understanding. When your feet hurt, it means you know you need more understanding and a new pair of shoes. All of the nerve centers in the crown of the head or in the cerebral cortex are interconnected, ending in the feet. This is the foundation of the earth, your feet. Not the foundation of the world, but the foundation of the earth, your earth. Okay. This is your heaven. When John said he saw a new earth and a new mind, this is what he saw. He saw a new body, spiritual, and the assessment of the divine mind in its glory, full of light and power. The new heaven and the new earth. That's on the inside. But according to the law of correspondence, what happens? As what? And? As within, so without. If there's a new heaven up there coming, and there is, as the planets realign themselves, then there's a new heaven going on in here. there's got to be a new earth. We got too much unusable water down here. 3/4 of the earth is covered with water. And we can't drink it. And can't swim in most of it. And so most of the elements and the minerals that this planet needs are still in the ground. You know, we don't even have half the Earth's wealth. We don't even have the treasures that have been lost in the last 150,000 years. They're treasures. They've already been hammered into molten gold pieces and chalices, and you know, we ain't even got that. It's still down there. Okay. Any questions about the mind of Christ thus far? Neuron transmitters is the vitamin B that assists you to revitalize the nervous system and the cerebral. Those are your thought mechanisms that give you back electrical energy thought processing. We think with electricity. In biological psychology, the mind is called mentation, the firing of electrical impulses moving through the atmosphere of the brain like planets orbiting around the sun. That's how we think. And we're able to capture those impulses at will to formulate thought. When those thought processes get to the point where they are electrical hydrogen energy, you can send one from here all the way to China, and it will do what you say. Or just simply look in your mind and have it done on your own divine mental screen. That's how Jesus did his miracles. The power of imagination and the mind of God, which is what Emmanuel means. Manu, mind, Il, God. The mind of God is what he demonstrated. This power then illumines and quickens the other faculties in the brain and throughout the body, and they become supra powerful. In other words, your faith becomes super faith. Your inner strength becomes super anized. I guess is a coin word I could use. Everything heightens, everything strengthens within you. You become powerful. That's the mind of God. We're going to concentrate on the pineal gland. We've been working on the heart chakra, and it's important because everything relies upon the heart. There's a transference once you get all of these faculties awakened in the head, and they move from the will center back to the root of David, which is back to the heart center. The root of David is the heart chakra, not the heart organ. This is the power center of love, where love does its power work. This is the organ where it feels and you experience the inner chambers of the heart. At some point, your spirit will invite you into your own heart, reducing you to about that big. So you can see that the heart is a temple of God. Major key for the African in America and anywhere else, as far as that matters. It is love we need to find and to express. Love brings with it wisdom. Love without wisdom is fickle. And That's important to know and to understand why the sister who loves still gets walked on, mistreated and used, then balled up and thrown away. Because she's feeling love. She doesn't have the power of love. Love won't let him do that, sister. It'll make him bow. And help get him free. Love is the power that sets us free. It's not personal. It's impersonal. There isn't any Christian love, Islamic love, Hindu love. There's only love. It doesn't belong to a church or a Bible or a belief system. As to whether you believe it or not, love exists. And it's important to know that, particularly in the face of what we are seeing with our youth getting destroyed. You know, I know we all felt very helpless when we found out this little girl had been shot by a dumb Negro child playing six-gun shooter in the streets. A child who died before her time. The Lord didn't take her. But there's nobody in the community to raise her up, is there? But that's what Christ does. Raises the dead. Not only the dead mentally, the dead spiritually, raises the dead physically. It's been done. It's being done now. Same master I mentioned about the jewelry. He sent a little boy, 10 years old, to the store to buy something. And on the way to the store, the boy got run over by a wagon, horse-drawn wagon, and they killed him. And 2 days later, they buried the boy, and the master hadn't heard about it until the day they buried him. So they were all in there moaning and crying and wailing and so forth. And the master walked in and walked up to the car. Reached in and got the little boy out and set him on his feet. He said, "Didn't I tell you to go to the store and bring me back such and such?" And walked out. It's G-O-D. We have to conceptualize that there is no death. We have to conceptualize. We're talking about all of the power of God. We're not the creator, but we are G-O-D. But you got to get your whole mind to buy that. That's what it means. It says to love the Lord with your whole mind, your whole soul, your whole heart, so that you can become G-O-D. Not worship. Worship is fine, but becoming is better. John 10:31-36. If anybody just heard this for the first time, it's right there. Then when you finish reading that, turn to Psalm 82, verses 5-8. The evidence is right there. G-O-D, generator, operator, destroyer. That's what it's all about. The analogy is we see the European everywhere. You know, I mean, it's no longer just in America. In Russia, the European is dancing like the brother. Getting down. You hear what is 1, 3, 5, 7 count? He's changing his sense of rhythm. He is. He's changing his sense of rhythm. He's becoming 2, 4, 6, 8. He's taking on the African sense of rhythm. He's becoming us. Every day. The question is, who are we becoming? Ain't nobody left but God to become. That's it. That's the work. That's the proposal of the universe. By simply understanding your nature, you would understand that premise. To make all the suffering worthwhile. Even if they gave us reparation, half of we wouldn't do nothing but go off and get on one of the biggest drunks we could find and call ourselves being happy. It's not about money. It's about power. Power awaiting you through the mind of God. how you get to that power. Being guided by love. I can't overemphasize that, because it comes to that point where your spirit gives you a challenge, gives you some power, and it shows you what you can do with it. How you can rule down here over these lesser. I mean, the whole bit. You get the whole bit. You get everything Jesus got. Try to go the right way with it, because it's a trick. It ain't real. Hitler went the wrong way. Alexander the Great went the wrong way. Finding the right path for your heart. Love. Very important. Any questions about the mind of Christ, the mind of God? Two Moors just come in. I want to welcome you, brothers. It's good to have some seasoned Moors in the house. Brother Yield, Brother Bay back there. Okay. The regenerative process begins with your thought process, and it's important to know, I think, to reassure yourself that when you sit in meditation, something is happening. As soon as you close your eyes and bring your attention up here, all of your energy starts in that direction. Energy follows attention. Blood energy, pranic energy, emotional energy, oxygen energy, etheric energy, and light energy all follows attention. If it were not so, the brother could not get it up. When he looked at the lower level of the sister's body, his energy starts responding to that lower center of her body and her magnetism. And the energy moves down to get him ready to jump. Same principle. You want to fly, go up this way. Okay? Very important. Very important. There are different stages of where energy is granted, and you have to make a choice of what you're going to do with that energy. If you're concentrating on things spiritual, things divine, you can keep it up above the navel, nava, the water center, the water fire center. If you let it down there, if it gets out of hand, you're in serious trouble. Ain't enough women on the planet for it. I mean, you're talking the wild thing. You don't have to be doing the wild thing. But then you get burnt out. And then you'll be in serious trouble. So it's about lofty thoughts, uprightness. That's the pineal gland you're talking about at the point of spiritual awakening and quickening. Up here, above the navel, that's where we're talking about. But that doesn't exclude you from a sexual life, but it's about balance. Balance. The other hard thing for human beings to do is to balance their lives. Putting their lives in order, as I mentioned to the brothers who have 4s in their chart. They don't think very highly of it because it doesn't seem to be very significant. 4 is order. You have a sense of order with the 4s in your chart. I don't have any. You know, I had to struggle like heck to get it halfway right. You know? The 4s give you a sense of order. The universe is in order. It stays in order. 40 is the path of order. After karma, of course, the 40 years around the promised land was a karmic debt of putting a spiritual being in order, not a spiritual being. The so-called Hebrews still ain't got it right. We know what talking about him. Okay. What time is it? 5:30. What time? 5:30. 5:30? Okay. Okay. Everybody put down everything in your hand. what we're going to do with it after meditation. Yeah, okay, I'll wait till that. Okay, we're going to move from the heart chakra to the third eye. The point of reference in yogic language is between the eyebrows. And actually, you're not focusing between the eyebrows, you're focusing somewhere in the middle of your brain area. It's kind of an invisible point. Don't try to find the pineal gland, okay? You know, at a certain point, it will appear. You'll be able to see it. Find a point of focus in your consciousness. That's all. Somewhere in here, along this line. Keeping your consciousness, by that I mean your sense of awareness, up here. If your spirit turns your eyes up, fine. Don't force your eyes up. If you do, that means you're using muscle, which is tenseness. The purpose of meditation is the opposite, complete relaxation. So the point of focus is simply inside, somewhere between the front of your brain and the back of your head. We're going to use the chant first of Om in the Tao. Let me get my stuff. Okay, put the tape on, my brother, or my sister. I already take it out. Yes, we're on the tape. Oh, okay, good, thank you. Okay, the purpose is to relax, to let go, to go within, where we're made inside, to find you, your own God, your own power. It's not difficult to get inside, but it does take practice and effort. Turn your hands up. Get yourself a fairly decent, comfortable posture. With music, you let the music in. That's all you do. You don't have to concentrate on it or listen to it or hear it. Just let it happen. There's nothing scary inside except the unknown. And once you find out who you are inside, then there's nothing to fear. When you chant Om, bring the sound up to your forehead instead of your throat. By closing the M and moving the sound up with your attention is all you do. The M rings in the cranium area. So you're going to bring Om up to the temple of God, which is the head. keeping your attention focused inside. Between the eyebrows. Closing the Om quickly, bringing it up towards the third eye between the eyebrows, just by lifting your attention. Take a deep breath. Again. Again. Keep your attention between the eyebrows. Do the same thing with the Tao. Bring it up towards the third eye, midpoint in the brain. Feel the vibration of Tao in the cranium. Take a deep breath. Tao, 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 Tao. Again. Tao, 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 Tao. Again. Tao, 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 Tao. Keep your attention in the third eye. Just feel the energy. Keep your attention at your third eye center. Open your hands, relax. attention up to the inside of your brain, the exact center of your brain, where the apex of the Christ ganglionic center is. Just your attention. If your eyes follow, that's fine. Just bring your attention up to the very top of your head, inside. Hold your attention at the very apex, the top of your inner brain. Hold your attention there. I live, move, and have my being in God. Again. I live, move, and have my being in God. Again. I live, move, and have my being in God. Again. I live, move, and have my being in God. I have the mind of God expanding. Again. I have the mind of God expanding. Again. I have the mind of God expanding. Again. I have the mind of God expanding. I am filled with a golden light, inspired to the level of a godly light. I am filled with a golden light, inspired to the level of a godly light. I am filled with a golden light, inspired to the level of a godly light. I am filled with a golden light, inspired to the level of a godly light. I think with the mind of God, and all my thoughts are perfect. Together.
I think with the mind of God, and all my thoughts are perfect.
Again.
I think with the mind of God, and all my thoughts are perfect.
Again.
I think with the mind of God, and all my thoughts are perfect.
Again.
I think with the mind of God, and all my thoughts are perfect.
Be still and know I am God. Together.
Peace, be still, and know I am God.
Again.
Peace, be still, and know I am God.
Again.
Peace, be still, and know I am God.
Again.
Peace, be still, and know I am God.
Again.
Peace, be still, and know I